Hello, and welcome to Strategic Speaking for Results. Have you ever thought, oh, it takes so much time to create a speech? I don't have time. I've got so many other things that I have to do. Why should organize this? Why should I spend the time? Today, I'd like to talk a little bit about you can leverage a single speech. I had recently had a week where everything came together. Several groups that I had worked with, that I'd been talking to, they all scheduled me to speak 5 times in 3 days. It was a crazy week. It never rains, but it pours. Here's how I managed it. On the Tuesday, I had a live interview where I was on a panel with someone. I had been a guest on her podcast. So this was to promote her podcast. And I had also interviewed her as my guest. So we were promoting each other. I knew which questions or what answers I wanted to give her to the questions she had to ask because they all came out of my signature speech. The speech I'm doing the most these days is called Do You Feel Invisible? Presentation Skills to Help Women Be Heard. And it's all about helping women step forward and get their voices out into the world to be visible and valued. That speech, because I've done it many times in the last several months, has various sound bites, key phrases that I have polished and practiced. So when I knew I was going to be on a panel and the panelist sent me several possible questions, I was able to pull some of my key phrases and put them in. So I knew what I was going to do. Not too much preparation because I'd done it before. Later that same day, I did an actual presentation of Do You Feel Invisible for an online conference and the Women in Tech track of the online conference. Again, women in tech often feel like they're invisible because tech is still a male-dominated industry. So I was able to share my tips and my suggestions with the participants. Again, it was a program that I've been working on for several months. I have delivered it many times, so I know how it goes, and I know how to make it interactive so that keeps people interested. The next day, the Wednesday, I had a I had to do a live broadcast in the morning and then a panel in the afternoon, a different panel for a different group. And this time it was some of the same material. The live broadcast in the morning is a broadcast that I do every Wednesday morning for my listeners. It goes on Facebook and on LinkedIn. And so I was talking that day about what the afternoon panel was going to be, because the afternoon panel was aimed at the women that I mostly work with, the high-level women in tech and in law. On that panel, the Wednesday afternoon panel was something that the other two coaches and I had put together. Because our work overlaps and supports each other, we said we have to figure out something good to do. We asked a friend who has a platform if she would interview us. And in a sense, this is going to be a dress rehearsal for doing this panel in many places. The other two women, one of them is a coach who talks about mindset and how to get yourself in the right mindset to step forward. I was talking about the message, which is the same part of what I talk about in Do You Feel Invisible? And the third coach talks about the megaphone. How do you tell the world? It's very useful. It's a program that I think we can repeat over and over again. Again, it was a way of leveraging material that I had already used. Very excited about that. On the Thursday, I did a program which was an offshoot of Do You Feel Invisible, saying some of the same things that I'd said in Do You Feel Invisible, but with different emphasis. That was for a group of women in science. I work a lot with women who are very, very smart and know a whole lot about something complicated. And yet when it's time to talk about it, they have a hard time being concise or compelling. I did a program called From Boring to Bravo, how to make a content heavy speech interesting. The important part was, even though it was a different speech, I was still reusing elements from my standard speech. If you think that the standard speech has perhaps 3 main topics, I have 5 or 6 main topics. I was able to use 3 different ones, but some of the same opening and some of the same ending. This is how I survived those 3 very packed days, by giving speeches 5 times live in 3 days. Once you do the work the first time, once you write the script the first time, you can reuse it over and over again. You can leverage all that material. You just have to put in the time at the beginning, and then you can use it over and over again. So go on, get out there, say, yes, I'm ready to speak. And if you're interested in finding out how to do this, contact me at the link below. This has been Elizabeth Bachman of Strategic Speaking for Results.